we're either going to skip pasta night or go grab a bottle of Tums on our way out. And we didn't want either of those options.
Yeah, we didn't like the idea of having to take medication just to enjoy pasta, pizza, lasagna, all those foods you just named off.
Hey there, Omaha. Welcome into another episode of Restaurant Hoppen. I'm your host, Dan Hoppen, and a few years ago, Jake and Jacque Burklund developed a sensitivity to tomatoes, and this was a big disappointment for them because it looked like a lot of their favorite foods, pizza, pasta, really anything with a red sauce, a tomato-based sauce, was off the menu. But instead of just accepting their fate or trying to find, a medical solution, reaching for the Tums again, they decided to fight with food, and they ended up creating a carrot-based pasta sauce that is just fantastic. Before I even met these guys, I was already using this stuff, and I don't have any kind of allergy or anything. It's just a great product, and I want to hear about the story of Carinara today. So, Jake and Jacque, thank you so much for being here today. Welcome to the show.
You bet. Dan, thank you very much for having us.
Thanks so much. I'm excited to be here.
Yep.
How Carinara got started was we developed some heartburn as we got older, as a lot of people tend to do as they reach their 30s. And we were in the pasta aisle one night and we realized, okay, we're either going to skip pasta night or go grab a bottle of Tums on our way out. And we didn't want either of those options.
Yeah, we didn't like the idea of having to take medication just to enjoy pasta, pizza, lasagna, all those foods you just named off. And in a day and age when people are trying to take less medication and really looking at the back of the label, we had this light bulb moment. What if we could create a pasta sauce that gives you that same Italian flavor but takes away the heartburn?
And what makes carrots the perfect solution? Well, I don't know if perfect is the right word, but just a great replacement for tomatoes.
Yeah, so I actually sort of came up with the idea before I even started struggling with heartburn. A few years prior, we did a cocktail competition with some friends, and I came up with a concept of a Bloody Mary mix using carrot juice instead of tomato juice. So that's really where the idea stemmed from. I don't know why I thought about carrot juice. I just thought it's kind of a similar texture, could maybe give it that same flavor when you add spices with it. And it turned out really good. So when we were in that pasta aisle that night, that's kind of when the light bulb went off. And I thought, well, could I use that same concept for a pasta sauce as that Bloody Mary? And then I started working in our kitchen at home, just doing trial batches and trying to take that idea and turn it into a pasta sauce. I did a lot of research on what goes into a pasta sauce. We tested a lot.
We ate a lot of really bad sauce. Really, just a ton of trial and error, a ton of trial and error over the stove. We both come from big families, too, so when we got to something that we thought started tasting pretty good, we would bring 2, 3, 4 crock pots to, Thanksgiving, Christmas, have everybody sample, and then just choose your favorite, A, B, C, D style, and then we really got to something that we started saying, wow, I think this is super close to a regular marinara taste. But we were testing it with everyone saying, hey, is this giving you heartburn? Is this giving you that uncomfy feeling? And always was a no. So we thought we were having something that was worth pursuing.
And now that product is available in hundreds of stores throughout the Midwest, mostly Hy-Vee's. That's the place that you'll commonly find it, although I learned today in All In Times in Iowa, that's going to be coming out. You can also find it on Amazon, which I was super excited to go on earlier this month and see it on there. So you guys are blowing up. You're doing real. But before we get back into the origin story, before I became aware of your story, I didn't know what a nightshade was. I didn't know that so many people were having these sensitivities to tomatoes. Can you kind of explain what a nightshade is and how they can affect certain people?
Yeah. You're not alone in that. When we first started Carinara, we had no idea what nightshades were. We just knew that when we tried, eating pasta and had our red sauce, it just made us feel really uncomfortable afterwards. Gave us that heartburn And that was the same when we started enjoying pizza and lasagna. And so, as we started going on with the idea and we settled on carrots as our, kind of hero ingredient, if you will, we quickly found out that nightshades are a family of vegetables that have some chemicals in it. A lot of it causes inflammation, and they generally have higher acidity. Tomatoes, pretty much all peppers except for your spices like black pepper, and then white potato and eggplant are the most common nightshades.
Yeah, people avoid nightshades because there's some research out there that says it's linked to cause inflammation in the body. Everyone has different levels of sensitivity, so it's really just comes down to that person and what works for them, what can they eat, what can't they eat. Everyone's a little bit different, as we've learned. The best thing we could have done was go to farmers markets and just get feedback from customers. We started out with the issue for heartburn, but we quickly learned from just talking with our customers that a lot more people can benefit from Carinara because they are trying to avoid nightshades, and Carinara is a nightshade-free option for them.
And I had no idea how prevalent of a thing this was until really we collaborated on a story that published on Hurrdat 1 probably about a month ago, and so many people in the comments have said, yes, finally I have a solution. I can eat pasta again, or I haven't eaten red sauce in 3 years, or I've got an uncle in Missouri, like, can I ship this to him? And it was just comment after comment, and I was just like, man, I guess I'm like one of the lucky ones who still gets to eat tomatoes and potatoes and peppers and stuff. But yeah, that's just, to be able to have that solution is such an incredible feeling. I mean, what do you guys remember? What was that feeling like for you when you started to recognize, hey, when we have pasta and pizza, we don't feel so great afterwards? Like, what was that like mentally, just being like, are these things getting taken off the menu like forever?
Right. It was honestly scary experiencing heartburn for the first time. I mean, it's right in the middle of your chest. It's super painful. You almost think you're having a heart attack, and it can be really scary. So just that realization of, wow, that was caused from the food I ate. That's terrible. Like, what is that going to look like for me to enjoy pasta and pizza, which are so common when you gather around friends and family?
They're such staples.
Yes.
I mean, for everyone, it's there's a reason that the pasta set in the grocery store is 12 feet long, and it's, all the way up and down the shelf. So I think, when that post went viral and we had all these comments of people saying, oh my gosh, this is such an amazing solution to this problem I'm having, it was honestly a lot of validation for us. It's things that we've heard over and over at the farmers market as we sample and as we meet our customers face to face, but having people all over the U.S. saying, oh my gosh, this is amazing, I can't have tomatoes, or I haven't enjoyed pasta in years, that is, for us, such an amazing feeling.
Now, with so many products that have a main ingredient substituted, I feel like you get like 80% of the way there. Like an almond milk. Some people might like that more than real milk. To me, it doesn't taste quite as good. Maybe that's just because I'm used to regular milk, but whatever it is. But I feel like in all those products, like when you're taking out the main ingredient and you're putting something else in, it might be a little healthier, might have some health benefits, but you're going to be sacrificing some flavor. I have not found that with this. And from what you guys have told me at the farmer's market, you get a lot of the same comments, even from people like me who don't have any sensitivities. You give somebody a sample and they taste it and they're just like, that tastes exactly like what I was expecting it to. What are those comments like for you?
It's so fun. That's why we love being behind the sampling table and at farmers markets, is just seeing people's reaction. A lot of people are hesitant because they see carrots or the color orange and they already have something in their mind of how they think it's going to taste. So being able to sort of prove to them that it still tastes like a marinara is probably why we have so much fun behind the table.
Yeah, we get a ton of, wow, that just tastes like a regular pasta sauce, which to us is like, That's the whole point.
That's why we did it.
That's what we're going for. I think the most fun and probably the most memorable interactions are, your traditional Italian. They always pass our table and they're like, that's not pasta sauce, or that's not right.
The nonas are giving you a side eye.
Always giving us a side eye. But we work hard to try to convince them over to the table. And as soon as they try it, they can never deny that it tastes amazing. It's always that same, wow, that is really good. That's way better than I thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys ever done a blind taste test with people?
We want to do that. Yeah, I think
we have to.
That'd be some good social content right there. Throw a blindfold on some people and
Yep. Choose your favorite A/B style. I like that.
I think that'd be fun. So we've talked a lot about pasta. We've talked a lot about pizza, little lasagna. But as you guys have told me, there's so much more that you can do with this product. What are some of your favorite recipes that don't involve noodles and dough?
Yeah, well, first of all, I know we've gotten a lot of comments, too, that people use carrots in their pasta sauce as well as tomatoes. So carrots, it's not unheard of to put carrots in your pasta sauce, but carrots have never been the main character. So it's been really fun to get people to kind of open their minds to that idea. And because it's carrots, you can do so much more with it because the flavor, the natural sweetness that comes with it pairs really well with some other types of dishes that are non-Italian. Some of our favorites is a marinade over a roast, chicken and rice. I've made like a shepherd's pie with mashed cauliflower on top.
Oh, yes.
We've been getting really creative, and our customers are getting really creative. Someone made a Guinness stew around St. Patrick's Day.
We just received a recipe for a chili.
Yeah.
Never thought of that. That's amazing from one of our customers. It's a really versatile sauce. It does give you those same Italian flavors, but we know that you can make so much more with it because it is a different ingredient.
The one that has me really intrigued, because in the Amazon boxes that you guys are going to be shipping out, you include a couple of recipe cards, and you have a thing in there called the Mitza, where you basically have like a meat base that then you top with the pasta sauce and bake it on there. So it's like a pizza, but instead of having dough, you have meat, which I have no idea if I'm going to love that or if it's just going to be so weird, but I'm definitely going to try it. I'm very intrigued by it.
Low carb, high protein, full of vegetables.
There you go.
Incredibly good. You got to try it.
Okay, I'll let you know. So you kind of got into the origin story a little bit, Jackie, talking about that cocktail competition. You won that. Was there anything in your mind that just kind of like was like, ooh, maybe this is a really good idea? Obviously, you didn't act on it right away, but was there? Do you think a seed was planted that day where it was just like, it's a useful substitution. I don't know when I'm going to use it, but like maybe I could come back to this at some point.
Oh yeah, and to set the record straight, this wasn't a large competition.
No, just amongst
like
friends. Just
8
amongst
friends.
Yeah.
But yes. And who knows?
Hey, a win is a win.
If it actually, I think afterwards or the next day, I'm like, did it actually taste good or did we just sample too many cocktails? But no, I did get really excited about the idea of doing the Bloody Mary mix. And that's what I really started working on. And I thought I was going to take to the farmer's market just for something fun to do on the side. And just over the course of those few years afterwards, developing the heartburn issue when it came to the red sauce. I thought, well, I could probably come up with a whole line of products. So the Bloody Mary mix has always been kind of on the table, but we figured after doing a lot of market research, actually considering, are we going to go after this idea? What's going to sell the best? What would be our flagship product? And pasta sauce. We eat way more often than we have a Bloody Mary mix. So that's kind of the thought process behind that. We wanted to start out with a pasta sauce. And really, Jake came up with the name Carinara, carrot marinara. So it all just felt like the right product to start out with.
Did either of you have a background in food?
Neither of us have a background in food. We're not chefs. We're not former CPG founders. We don't come from the culinary world whatsoever. We just had a problem and solved it with some food.
So you talked about this a little bit, Jackie, but what did that research process look like for you? I mean, I can't even, because I'm coming from the same place you guys are. Like, I've worked in a couple restaurants, but very menial jobs, not a chef, nothing. If I were to have this idea, hey, I'm going to start a product line of pasta sauces, except I'm going to take out the main ingredient, reintroduce another one, and have it taste and have the same consistency, and people are going to love it, I would get so overwhelmed, I wouldn't even know where to start, so I wouldn't start. You obviously did start. What gave you, I guess you've talked about what gave you the motivation, but where did you start? How do you even get the ball rolling on something that massive?
Yeah, well, innocence is bliss because we had no idea what it would take to actually create a product. But taking it one step at a time is really where you have to start. We started in grocery stores. Every grocery store we went in, we just went to the pasta aisle, took photos, kind of creeped on people as they like reached for different sauces, and we were like, I wonder why they grabbed that one versus the other one. We looked at what were the options in the pasta aisle, what did the labels look like, what were the ingredients like.
Yeah, and then really just settling down and I mean, you started on the stove literally just like taking carrots. How do you cook them? Should you steam them, boil them, bake them? What is the best way to cook a carrot down? And then, it kind of comes down to like, once you start making the base, how do you get the flavor just right? And, it starts to come together like that. I think, honestly, not coming from a food background, we look back now and are like, wow, that's actually kind of a superpower in a way. We're not, knowledgeable about all the gums and fillers and, all these ingredients that you read on the back of a label that you can't even pronounce. And so we just started with simple ingredients, things you can actually find in your home pantry. So if you read our label, everyone that comes across the table at a sampling knows everything that's in the jar.
I'm actually going to do that right now. I had them written down, but since you guys brought it in, this is the original sauce. You guys have 3 sauces. This is the original. Ingredients: water, fresh whole carrots, onion, Italian olive oil, garlic, salt, basil, vitamin C, oregano, and black pepper. No xanthan gum. I mean, not even that xanthan gum is bad, but you're totally right. You go in a grocery store these days, you look at the back of a package, there's 30, 40 ingredients, and half of them you can't pronounce or, aren't even identifiable. How important was it for you guys to keep it so natural?
I think super important. Anything that I didn't know how to pronounce, I wasn't comfortable selling on the shelf or creating a product around. It also is overwhelming with all the options out there. We would have people reach out to us trying to sell us their ingredients, things to, keep it from separating or thicken it up. And I don't know, it just scared me. I was like, if I don't know what that is, I'm not going to try to sell that. So keeping it as simple and clean as possible made us feel much better. And then hearing that validation from our customers on how much they appreciate the clean label really just set the tone. And that became, part of our values with Carinara is keeping it a clean label that moms feel good about feeding their kids. We feel good about feeding our little girl Carinara. She loves it. And it's nice knowing it's full of veggies and it's full of just clean, fresh ingredients.
Jake, do you remember the first conversation that you guys had where this became like real? Because, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like, Jackie, you kind of had this idea and the ball got rolling in your head and you kind of took ownership of it. When and how did you introduce it to Jake? Jake, do you remember that conversation of being like, You want to make a what?
So we were in this cocktail competition together. So many years ago, we were in the same room when she came up with the Carrie Mary, if you will. And during that time, who knows if it was too many cocktails or not, but it was undeniably good. And so, after that, you wanted to go to the farmer's market with it. Mm-hmm. I do remember I remember you coming to me with a few logos, some trial logos. We should go look those up. Those are so terrible at the time, looking back. But I remember you coming to me with those logos and kind of like designing the bottle out. And we just never really got around to setting up the booth. And then as soon as we started having heartburn, we sat down, you sat with me and you said, look, I think pasta sauce is the way to go. It's, it's a really common food. It's a staple for so many people. And I come from a startup background, and so I looked at it from those metrics that you always look at. How big is the market that we're addressing? Are we solving a real problem that's painful for a lot of people? And do we have a solution that is good enough for people to look at and pay for? It checked all those boxes, and we said, look, this is a huge problem, big solution. Let's get after it. You never know what can happen. Let's just start and see what happens from here.
I think the thing that came down to it, you asked me, like, okay, what if you saw this same concept on the shelf, but someone else made it? How would that make you feel? And I think I said something like, oh, I would be so mad at myself, or I would be so upset that I didn't go for it. So it was really an awesome feeling seeing our jar in our first grocery store. It was kind of like one of those moments you're like, okay, we're actually doing it. And we got here so far, and you just take it one step at a time. And we love, figuring out how do we take something from start to finish. We love projects. We work really well together. So, we just saw this opportunity and did some research on how many people struggle with the issue we were struggling with too.
You experimented on this recipe for about 2.5 years before it got released to the public. I mean, I don't know if you have an exact number or even a ballpark, but do you know how many different iterations of the sauce you eventually went through before we landed on this?
Yeah, we did a very scientific method of just tweaking one thing at a time. So it did take a lot of batches to get it just right. But I would say close to 100.
Yeah, I think a few more than that.
Yeah.
So how do you keep going through that? Because I'm just, again, putting myself in your shoes. If I'm all excited about this idea, I'm gonna put pasta back on the menu. I'm gonna make this carrot-based pasta sauce, and you start trying recipes. And you said, Jake, the first couple were bad. So if I'm just failing, and all of a sudden we're on trial 30, we're on trial 40, we're on trial 70, and I'm just not getting there, I feel like I would get really frustrated, and it would be hard for me to keep going. What did you do to overcome those mental hurdles as you're going through iteration after iteration to push through and finally get to the finish line?
Yeah, there's a moment I thought we were kind of done for was when we scaled up, when we got into Kitchen Council, the kitchen we work out of, making the batch. We were making 18 jars at home in our little pot to using a huge kettle at the kitchen, making 100 jars at a time. And when we first started, the sauce did not taste the same as it tasted at home. And we, again, went back to our scientific method and changed one thing at a time. And after, dumping gallons of sauce down the drain because it doesn't taste good, it was really defeating. And I remember one night we were driving home late at night and I started crying because I'm like, I don't think we're going to figure it out. And what ended up happening was we really leaned into our community here in Omaha, the startup community, friends, family, telling them what we were struggling with. Someone said something that sparked an idea, and it ended up being the solution to taking it from not tasting good to making it even better than what we were doing at home.
Yeah, lean on the community. I mean, really, we got encouraged to just share what you're working on, right? That's what the startup community is all about, is having an idea and then having the courage to go out and do that. And I think having a community that supports you and, really is excited for what you're working on it's essential. I mean, it takes a village. I know that's kind of a quip, but it is so true. Mm-hmm. To create anything of value, it takes a lot of people, a lot of effort. And for us, that is absolutely true. It has taken a ton of people to help us get to the point where we're at. And solutions come from the weirdest places. Yeah. So you never know. You just have to tell people what you're working on. Honestly, tell them what problems you're having. And you never know what solutions might come out of the dark.
It's amazing how we feel so siloed as humans, and we feel like or even as couples, like the problems that I'm having or that we're having, no one else is experiencing this. Like nobody knows what we're going through. A lot of times all you got to do is be vulnerable. And if you come out and say, hey, actually, I'm really struggling with this, you'll get 5 or 6 people that are in your direct community that'll raise their hands and say, yep, I had that 2 years ago. Yep, I am going through that right now. And you come around each other and you can have those shared experiences that allow you to both overcome. So I think that's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
One thing that I'm always fascinated with when I talk to chefs is there are some dishes that come together really easy in 1 or 2 iterations and they're just like, bam, nailed it. And then there are some where, yeah, they spend 3, 4, 5 weeks working on it. I had the creators at Coneflower Creamery on the podcast recently. They spent 1.5 years working on their hot honey cornbread ice cream. Like, it was such a long creation process. And I'm always fascinated with those long ones. How do you know? Because you spend so much time on it. You go through so many iterations. Like, when you finally reach it, how do you say, okay, I can't do better than this. This is exactly what I was looking for. How did you guys reach that moment where it was like, yes, this is it. We nailed it.
I remember this so clearly because the process for R&D at our house, this is literally home kitchen, regular pots and pans, nothing fancy. Jackie would make 2, 3, 4 different types of sauce. We would do blind taste tests. And I remember, we're trying over 100 recipes here. So a lot of times I sit on the couch, she comes over, she's like, all right, try this one. What do you think about this? And most of the time it's like, that's just not it. It's not there. The flavor is kind of different than a regular marinara. But I remember one night sitting there, she comes over and she's like, you got to give this a shot. I tried it. I was like, whoa, that's like regular pasta sauce. That was it. Because for us, again, not food backgrounds, we were just going off of taste and consistency and appearance. Right. What gives you that same, sauce? And as soon as we tried it and we got the wow, then we knew we had something.
So after that, you launched your website in 2023, and then you started selling in farmers markets. We talked about this a little bit, but just because there was nothing like this out on the market, I can't imagine how many times, you got the rubbernecks of people kind of walking by your booth and then looking back. What was that education process for you guys like as you start explaining not only the problem that you were trying to solve to people like me who didn't understand, but also, hey, this solution, it's nutritious, it's not filled with a bunch of weird stuff, it's just carrots. What was that education process like?
It was a little tricky. I mean, it takes time. You want it to just be an overnight success, right? And you want everyone to understand it right away. So we did spend some time figuring out what should we say to make it click for people right away. So it took us some trial and error figuring out, ooh, this worked really well. Like, they got it immediately versus, oh, that's too lengthy, let's shorten it. But what we found over so many samplings in markets was saying it's a tomato-free pasta sauce. And then it sparks people's curiosity. They're like, well, why tomato-free? And usually when we say we struggle with heartburn, whether you experience heartburn or not, someone that does, right? It's such a common issue that's really where it clicked for people. And then we'd get them to come try it. And then the sauce really speaks for itself.
What we really try to get down to is just your elevator pitch, right? We both come from sales backgrounds. Jackie's originally a bedside nurse, converted into a salesperson. And, when we first started going to the farmers markets, what you want it to get down is an elevator pitch. In one sentence, what do you do? Mm-hmm. And for us, it took us a long time to get it down to like the minimum amount of words, but this is a tomato-free pasta sauce. They always ask, really? Why?
Boom.
Helps reduce the acidity, takes away the heartburn.
The door's open, now you're in.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I imagine there's great excitement for you when you have that aha moment. You taste it, you say, this is pasta sauce. Okay, we got the sauce down. This feels wild to say, but it's such an incredibly small part of the business overall. I mean, you had the name, so that was a good start, but you got to come up with a logo. You got to create merch like you guys are wearing right now. You got to have packaging. You have to figure out how are we going to transport these to different places. Now you have to figure out how to ship everything safely, which you had a hilarious Instagram video about the other day of just tossing boxes around. How did you level up your game in all those other areas and figure out, okay, we have a product, now we have a business?
Yeah, I mean, we really spent time on every aspect of that, and we're still learning the process, but really I think the best thing we did was we just started. We didn't spend too much time, laboring over, is the label perfect? We just, got it to a point we were happy with it, got it out there. And as you can see, like, we've changed the label since. So it's not impossible to change your process or change how you do something. But the best way we learned was just start and, do your research before. I do most of the marketing stuff. So we're like, how can we market this pasta sauce to make it stand out? It's a different type of sauce, but it's also not too far away from the regular thing. So we knew the pasta sauce aisle. You can picture it right now. It's red sauce, white label, very Italian looking. We had an orange sauce, so we're like, let's do a black label. So there's little things like that we really wanted to make important for us in that regard. But yeah, everything from delivering packages, shipping them. We started out driving all around Omaha delivering packages to now shipping and figuring out a custom box to make sure the jars aren't breaking every time, because that's the worst email to get is, oh, my jar broke. So yeah, we're just constantly learning, but yeah, just making the sauce is only like a fifth of the business.
Yeah, it's such a small piece. I mean, this time of year it seems like a really big piece because we're in the kitchen a lot, but I think Jackie hit the nail on the head. Like, you just have to begin. And then all of the issues start arising. You're like, okay, now we need to solve for this. We need to solve for this. Breakage is a really big thing when you start shipping jars. And so as long as you just start, then you're just figuring out solutions to the biggest problems, the most prevalent problems. And then you level up, right? You go to the next size of scale. For us, that was going to Hy-Vees all across the Midwest. Then you got to figure out, okay, how do I arrange these on a pallet? How do I get the pallet to the distributor? There was a lot of learning just in that.
How do we make it better? Like, we've been doing it this way for a while. How can we make it better now that we know this basic information? Exactly.
Make processes, and then as soon as you grow a bit, then you start to break those down, right? You have to build them back up and make it better.
Now, it's great to sell your product at the farmer's market, to make home deliveries, all that stuff. But it's a game changer when you get into a grocery store. And all of a sudden, it's just in front of people who weren't expecting it, but they are actively looking for that product. How did you get into Hy-Vee?
Really?
A friend of a friend.
Yeah.
Just my sister knew someone who worked there, and we reached out to her through my sister and said, hey, we've got this product. We'd really like to talk to a manager at Hy-Vee. And, she's like, okay, well, I think I can get a meeting for you. Let's do it. If you're ready, let's go for it. And so we just said yes, even though we were not ready.
I think she asked me, she's like, does it have a UPC? And I was like, what is that? I don't know. I'm like, yeah, it does.
Googling UPC, yeah.
Literally.
And it's just like the barcode on the label. Yep. But I'm like, yes, we have that. I'm like, Jake, what is this? We need it.
And once we got the label down, printed, we had our beautiful looking jar with all the things that they needed to see on it. We went in and met with the manager. And very much like a farmer's market sale, you have an elevator pitch. With a manager, you have probably less than 5 minutes, sometimes less than 3. We walked in with a jar and just said, look, this is our product. This is the problem that we're solving for. We think it would be an incredible addition to your pasta set. What do you think about giving us some space on the shelf? And the beautiful thing about Hy-Vee is that they're all independently managed. Those managers at the store, they all decide individual store-wise what goes on the shelf. So when we met with them, they had the opportunity to place an order right there on the spot. So we did that for about our first 17 stores, 18 stores. So, yeah, boots on the ground.
When did Carinara become your full-time jobs?
I went full-time this last January. We're at a point where, we were making sauce a lot. We're in enough stores. We crunched the numbers to figure out, okay, how many jars do we need to be selling per month to make it worth it for me to go full-time? And then Jake went full-time a year before that. So we started out just one of us going full-time. I stayed with my full-time job. And then, just slowly got to a point where we just needed both of us to be in it full-time and focusing on growing the business.
How difficult was it to take that leap? Originally for you, Jake, and then for you too, Jackie.
I think both of them were really a leap out of necessity. We waited as long as we possibly could to go full-time. Because it's a huge risk. You're taking a ton of income off the table for us as a family. And, the bigger our family gets, the more risk there is, right? So when I went full-time, the timing ended up working out well, where we started selling a lot and we had to be in the kitchen a lot to be able to make enough sauce. And so we really just decided, look, if we're going to go for this, we have to be able to make good on these orders for these new Hy-Vees that we were getting into, and we needed somebody to be able to manage that. So that was our necessity, make enough product to make good on the POs that you were getting.
Right.
And Jackie's was very much the same decision, just at a bigger scale.
Yeah, the December before we got into Lomar, Hy-Vee's in-house distributor, and we went from our 25 local Hy-Vees to over 100 Hy-Vees through Lomar. So in January, we were like, all right, I think that's a lot of stores. We need to be focusing on maintaining those relationships so we can stay on the shelf once we get on the shelf.
As of we're recording this on a Wednesday, last night you guys unleashed a new product to the public for the first time, a pizza sauce.
Yes.
Right.
You had a launch party at Moot's Pizza. Huge fan of them. Actually,
Yes.
got the sticker on my phone.
Love
They're awesome. What's different about the pizza sauce from the pasta?
Yeah, the pizza sauce. You can use our pasta sauce on pizza. We actually love doing that. But the pizza sauce is going to be more so focused on just the consistency. So it's not as watery.
A little thicker.
A little bit thicker, a little different spice blend. Our pasta sauces, the pasta sauce is the main show, right? Whereas the pizza, usually the toppings are the main show, depending on how you want to make your pizza. So we made sure that it complements the toppings really well. So we changed up our spice blend a little bit and mixture of ingredients.
You bet. Moots did an awesome job.
Yeah,
They
it was
are
super fun.
such a fantastic, just family-run business, and to have them making their pies, their signature pies with our sauce, was a pretty surreal experience. And then we had a packed house, literally a packed house last night, and great reviews. People were just loving the taste. They were loving how well it goes with, all of your staple ingredients, your pepperonis, cheese, sausage, you name it.
Last thing I want to talk to you guys about is your connection. And it's really fun to just watch you two. I've been in the kitchen with you guys. I'm just seeing you now. The way that you look at each other, the way that you communicate without saying anything, I think is so, A, it's special in a marriage, and B, it's vital for something like what you're undertaking. Because yes, we've talked a lot about the high moments on this podcast, and we got it, and we had fun at the farmers market, and then we did our pitch at Hy-Vee, and we could talk about, you guys winning the 2024 Hy-Vee Opportunity Inclusive Business Summit pitch. Like, there have been a lot of highs. there have been a lot of lows too, and there are a lot of times where you're frustrated, where things aren't going the way you want, where you're just hitting your head against a wall, and it can be really easy as a couple to have that be a separator, especially when you're in business together and it doesn't feel like you get that separation between work and personal life. How have you guys been able to run this business, overcome the frustrations, and still maintain a strong bond and have a strong marriage throughout all this?
I think, if I can start.
Please.
Obviously, the basis is always incredible communication. Our faith is at the center of everything that we do. It's at the center of our marriage, and I think that helps set us up with an incredibly strong foundation to build on. But we have to communicate more, way more than what you would, if we didn't do this business. And so a lot of times, when we get asked this question, I think for me, building a business with Jackie is the best partner that I could ever ask for, right? This is the person that I'm spending the rest of my life with. It's the person that I love the most in the world and trust the most. And when you're looking for a business partner, a lot of those things line up, right? You want somebody that you can trust no matter what happens in the business, whether it's good days or bad days. Oftentimes those come hand in hand. But being able to end the day knowing that, look, we're both working on the same team, on the same idea, heading in the same direction, and I fully trust that you have my best interest in mind, our family's best interest in mind, and, of course, the business as well.
Yeah, it's hard to turn it off sometimes. At night we're still talking about what we need to do for the business or the schedule. But, yeah, I think what Jake said is communicating. We've learned to be better at that, which I think has helped our family dynamics too. More communication is better than less. And just having fun with it. I mean, it's really exciting to get some wins. And, when you're going through lows, you end up telling your significant other anyway about the lows, and you can relate to each other in those moments. And leaning on our faith a lot has helped us through just not worrying so much. We trust that it'll pan out and we'll find a solution. But yeah, I mean, to be truthful, it is kind of scary. We're expecting our second baby in like 8 weeks, and we have all these irons in the fire that are about to happen. So luckily we found some great help too. So we couldn't do it without people on our team as well. So just, being able to work together on, okay, who do we need in order to help us in this area where we feel like we're lacking or that we know we could be better. So yeah, we just make a really good team and
build each other up when we really need it the most. I think that's key.
That was a beautiful answer. I wish I could talk to you guys for longer. Like I find you so fascinating. You're such engaging people. You have a fantastic product, and I know there's so much story to tell here, and we got about 10% of the way there. Unfortunately, we got to give the studio back, but this is where, in case I haven't made it clear enough, people, go buy this. Like, I absolutely love it. It is better than most pasta sauces you are going to find on the market. It's one of my personal favorites. And again, I don't have any kind of allergy or anything or a sensitivity. If you are getting heartburn from pizza or pasta sauce, try this. If you just love pizza or pasta or lasagna or anything, try this. I think you're really going to like it. You're going to get hooked. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it in Hy-Vee, other grocery stores as well. Jake and Jackie, thank you so much. I know you've been very busy. You've got a lot of stuff going on. You're launching new products, and you took some time to come on the podcast today. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you for having us.
You bet. Honored to be a guest on the show. Thank you very much, Dan. Really appreciate it.
The honor's all mine. Omaha, as always, thanks for eating with us.